So I'm delighted to be here as part of the Kavolis Interdisciplinary Professorship. And as Edgardo said in his generous introduction, yes, I'm interested in storytelling, film storytelling, screenwriting, of course, but how we can take the lessons of film history and apply them to all of the stories that you want to tell, and no matter what media it is. So today, yes, I am going to talk about film storytelling, and I'm going to talk about the virtues of past film storytelling in different eras of film history, from what is called the silent era of film history, basically until around, let's say, the late 1920s, where the virtue that I want to discuss and share with you is the ability to tell stories visually. Visual storytelling without even the need for speech, sometimes. There is an eloquence and an elegance to that period of storytelling, circa 1920 to 1930, that really is a virtue to recover. And then another era and a transitional era, the transition from silent to sound film. And I'm curious in Lithuania, those of you who know Lithuanian film history, I'm curious when the first sort of synchronized dialogue films happened in Lithuania, took place. I imagine somewhere around the early 1930s, but it would be interesting. Does anyone know? Anyone in the audience know? It'd be interesting to know that. Okay. So, but this period, and what we get from this period is a flexibility. Of storytelling form. And what I mean by that during this period, during this transitional time, there was a new technology. You all are no strangers to new technologies. But when a new technology first comes in, like sound during this period, there's the question, what do we do with it? How do we use it? What is the best way to describe a story with this new technology and sound? So these lead to all kinds of possibilities, one of which becomes the industry standard. But if we go back to this time, there is this flowering of possibility that is still useful for all of you. And finally, the last period I want to talk about is the sound era of film. And here we can talk about creating a memorable lines of dialogue. Creating dialogue, but not just any old dialogue. Memorable dialogue. Ingrida, what was the nice phrase we had yesterday? What?
To say it now?
Yes, please. Yes, I see some nodding in the crowd. Lines like that, lines which you will remember within your culture. So the question is, in film storytelling, for your own storytelling, why should we go back to film history? What are the uses we can make of film history? And the reason why we should go back into film history is because remember that when you're dealing with media, film, all these industries, it's a succession of trends. One trend that overtakes another. When you think of all the different technologies that you have used from your childhood, if I can ask you all, because this is not just a lecture from me, it's also an exchange, what are some of the technologies that you remember 5 years ago, even more, that you were using? CDs, yes, very good example.
DVD players.
DVD players even, yes, yes. And something else? Anything else? Were you using the same kinds of mobile phones that you are using right now? No. Okay. So, because we are living in a society based on consumption and based on capitalist innovation and things like that, we have technologies which are used and then retired, discarded, set aside, but without exploiting their full technological capabilities. So when we go back into film history, we can discover techniques and technologies that are still useful, that are still full of creative potential, but for you to fulfill. So that is why film history is not something dead, it's not something past, it's something which you can reactivate and bring to a pitch which has been lost in the past. So let me give you 3 examples, each from a different era. So as Edgaras kindly mentioned, I did this program about the great female screenwriters of Hollywood films. During the silent era from circa 1900 to 1929, it was women who were the major writers of Hollywood films. And here are just a few of them. They were respected, they collaborated with one another, and their films live on as great examples, not just of screenwriting, but of writing in general. And going from the top here, there's Anita Luce, there's Clara Berenger, whose name you can see and we'll talk about, Seda Cowan, Beulah Marie Dix, Agnes Christine Johnson there, Grace Cunard, who was also the star. She was the star of adventure serials. You can see by her mask that she was an adventurous character, an adventurous creature. And Dorothy Yost. But what these women, what all of them had in common, if we go ahead, wish we had time to mention all of them, but we're going to go right through many of them. To Clara, what all of them have in common is this. They knew how to write in a way to tell stories visually. And in particular, they knew how to tell stories so that you could understand what was going on in someone's mind. You could understand what someone was thinking without them having to say a word. Just if you understood the situation, and if you gave them a meaningful object, if you gave the character a meaningful object. So soon, I have an exercise for you, so you didn't think you were going to get out of this lecture unscathed without being asked a question. But first, let's look at an example of how this is done, because this is how to tell stories visually with real simplicity, but also clarity. And that's what I hope for your projects as well, if you're going to do any kind of visual storytelling. So this is a film written by Clara Berenger. It's called Miss Lulu Bet. It's a film from 1920, 1921. And it's about this woman here, this is Lulu here, who is a drudge. She is unmarried, and her life basically consists of doing housework for her sister, her sister's husband, her nieces and nephews. That's what her life is. You can tell that she's having a rough time of it. However, there comes a point in the film where she meets a man. She meets a fellow, and they meet, and these are the kinds of, he notices her slippers. She has no time to take care of herself, so of course her slippers look like this. But he finds her appealing, and he takes her away from this kind of life, and he buys her, as a token of his esteem, he buys her these new shoes. Can everyone see? See the difference? Okay. All right, so we have already this difference between objects. Now, in this scene, I just want you to think about, what is Lulu thinking? What can you tell is Lulu thinking? In this scene, she discovers that maybe the man is unfortunately still married, and she may have to go back to the life that she knew, the life of drudgery. So as we watch this very brief scene, see if you can interpret her thoughts and emotions. What is Lulu thinking? What is Lulu feeling at this point?
Well, my guess would be that she thinks that she'll have to give away her shoes back to that man. I don't know, just a guess.
Yes, that would be the first phase. And beyond that, how does she feel about that? That's right.
Obviously sad.
Like sad and disappointed, maybe a little bit. I don't know.
Yes, sad, disappointed, exactly. Right. Anything else? Does she want sad, disappointed? Does she want to return? Yes, probably not. Probably not. And what is it that tells you that? What is it that conveys the fact that she's sad, disappointed, reluctant to return? What are the things that convey that to you visually?
Her face.
Face expressions are crucial, of course, but not just her face.
Also the movement, how slow she puts the things away.
Ah, very good. Yes, the pace. If she was just tossing things in there with a big, that would seem like she was really wanting to go back. So it's a very good point. The pace, her expression, and then what we started out with, of course, that change in object, the shoe itself, what the object represents to her. So when you are thinking of creating a story, a visual story in any medium, when I was taught at USC, as Edgardo said, it was a very good film school, but I was taught basically one way of writing film stories, and that is that a film story has to have a character and it has to have conflict. And that's fine. That's fine. But in your roles as creative producers, you will want to have flexibility so that you can design stories based on other kinds of relationships, not just a character and conflict, but also going from this, what about a character's relationship to an object? So let us do that now. Let's imagine that we were building a sophisticated visual storytelling databases. Okay, great. So we may have to modify this, but give us a couple of examples. Let's say two or three famous Lithuanian celebrities, historical figures, literary figures. Yes, you've been elected spokeswoman.
Žemaitė. Do I have to tell what the person is?
I guess for the foreigner in the room, yes.
So she was a writer and a huge feminist.
From what? From 19th century or earlier?
19. Yeah.
Okay.
And Vytautas Didysis, that's the person from our university name.
The
grandchild.
Okay.
And
And one more.
Sabonis, Arvydas Sabonis, he's like a basketball player.
Oh yeah, okay. So a good mix of what your country has offered so far. Okay. Even in three. Okay, and then 2 or 3 Lithuanian landmarks. So remembering those 3, now listen to what they have to say. Listen to what they have to say and choose one object to go with one of the 3 people that you mentioned.
So we wrote down Gediminas Castle. Amber is one of the symbols, yes.
Okay.
Then crosses, hill of crosses.
Oh.
Then
Where is the hill?
Šiauliai.
Ah, okay, where Thomas was going.
Then one of the traditional foods is šaltibarščiai, pink soup. Then cepelinai, also maybe one of the towns that that symbolizes our nationality, Nida.
Okay, stop there. I'm sure you have many more, but do we
Yes.
have from you, do we have?
We wrote down ornaments because we wrote down ornaments because I think both Ukrainian and Lithuanian national clothes have ornaments.
Yes.
Also, we wrote down borscht, Ukrainian national soup.
Which can be cold?
Usually it's hot.
Usually, yes.
Yeah. Also, like high bush cranberry. It's called kalina in Ukrainian.
You're nodding. Is there any kind of...
No, I'm just similar to Reese.
Uh-huh.
Also, if talking about like famous people, we have a famous movie director, Alexander Dovzhenko. He's
yes.
like very honorable person.
Yes, yes. How do you say it? Zemlya? How do you say the name of Earth in... Zemlya. Yes, a film filled with love for the people. Yes, a remarkable film, actually. Yes, all right. So, you group, out of all that, who would you choose and what would you choose to pair it with?
So we chose Sabonis and Gintaras Amber to like represent him missing Lithuania because it's like a sign for him because he's now in the US, right? Yeah, so we chose those two.
Ah, okay. All right. So this is about a character's relationship to an object. And we have this particular moment. The young lady got ahead of me. Well done. Because the next step was, what is the character's relationship to the object? In the same way that Miss Lulubet is looking at the shoes with sadness, regret. Now Subonis is looking with nostalgia, melancholy, longing, things like that. So the point is, rather than having just conflict, here we have, is it Subonis? Or is it some, how you spell it? Subonis? S-A. Okay, S-A-B. So, is it like this?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. So now he is looking with nostalgia. What could come before this scene and what could come after it? Just imagine a logical background to this scene because you said very specifically he is in the United States. He catches a glimpse of Lithuanian amber. Yes, poor Sabonis, poor rich Sabonis, but okay. Either way, what could come either before this scene or after this scene?
Trip to the sea, maybe some kind of to the beach to kind of reminisce and maybe find a connection and feel the nostalgia.
Do you mean to like Klaipeda? Or
maybe in the US, we like to find some kind of connection there to feel the nostalgia.
Ah, okay. Because he sees the sea in the US and then it reminds him of his beloved Baltic. Okay. And maybe even some amber, this is far-fetched, but some amber washes up on the shore of the Pacific. Probably not. Okay. But see, we have already begun to develop a kind of narrative here. But it is a narrative based on a visual situation, on how a character looks at something and relates to something by look. No speech is necessary in that scene. So when you think about developing a story for visual media, this is one way. Doesn't get rid of the other ways, but it's just one method you can use. Let me show you another. Take you to this transitional era. So during this transitional era in the United States and other places around circa 1929 or so, there was sound. There was all of a sudden synchronized sound, talking pictures. And the question was, what kind of form, how are we going to write stories for this new form? And one of the ways that they came up with, let's see, was this. The column format. Most screenplays nowadays are written in the master scene format of, you set a scene, interior, Vytautas Magnus University, day, and then students sit listening to, and so on, and a prose description. But during this period, because sound was so important, this format was developed instead. And you can see this is not from that period. I'm giving you a slightly later example. How many of you have seen a film by Stanley Kubrick or know of Stanley Kubrick as a filmmaker? Yes, in the back as well. Which one? A Clockwork Orange, which was, yes, and Eyes Wide Shut. Eyes Wide Shut, based on Schnitzler, so not too far. When he was making his film about Napoleon, which he never shot, he had special screenwriting stationery made. And you can see the 3 columns here. There's 1 column for picture, 1 column for dialogue, and a whole separate column for sound. Because in this picture about Napoleon, which would be full of battles, sound was obviously going to play a very important role, as important as what we see. So in this scene, we have the king, Louis XVI, who is not going to be alive for much longer. And he is sitting by a tall, graceful window, but he is listening to the sounds of musket shots coming from outside, because the revolution is soon going to take over and behead him and lead him to its end. So the point of this format is that there is a whole column for sound. It is there for you. It is there to fill with your imagination of sound. And that sound is as important a storytelling element as what we see. So if we can have a character's relationship to an object, we can also have, as another way of developing something as an audio-visual story, we can also have So you did so well with Sabonis there. Now let us go into the history of sounds and songs in Lithuania. And start, yes, wow, there's so many. There's so much. And begin assembling a list, just a list as if it was a kind of database of songs which can go all the way back to Ramver songs, to contemporary songs, as well as sounds that you would hear. All kinds of different sounds, Lithuanian sounds. So a new list. All right. So starting with sounds and song. Give us again 3 or 4. Yes. And speak up so they can hear you in the back, please.
Okay, so first of all, it would be sutartinės, or I think the translation would be glee. It's like songs that people sang while working in the fields in a cappella about working and just life in general.
Are these peasant songs, country songs?
I guess you could say that, yeah.
Okay, can you play an example of it at some point? I'm sure someone can find it. She's already looking.
Yeah,
okay.
maybe.
Let's see, but keep going. Okay.
Okay, forest sounds, because nature and stuff, yeah. And
So forest sounds also. What was the first one again you called?
sutartinės, A cappella songs?
Sototinas.
Yes.
Okay.
And kurį dar? And the national anthem, of course.
The national anthem. Can I ask, what are the first words of the Lithuanian national anthem?
Lietuva tėvynė mūsų.
Which is translated as?
Lithuania.
Nation of ours.
National House?
Nation of ours.
Nation of ours. Okay, so it's not as sad as some some of the other national anthems.
No.
Very patriotic and yeah. That's our country, we're the best, something like that.
Okay, very good. You have an example of a
video, so you could see.
Oh. Okay. 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 Well, tell me, you said the translation was Glee, was a cappella.
Yeah, it's Lithuanian folk glee. So,
Lithuanian folk glee.
yeah.
Ah, okay. Does it get any faster and happier, this glee? Of course, okay. Okay, because Glee is like jumping up in the air. Well, you know the TV show, right? They're all, yes. Okay, so this is the Lithuanian version of Glee. No, okay, no, all right. Okay, so that has anything contemporary there? We had the Lithuanian national anthem, but anything besides forest sounds? Something contemporary.
Sentimental? Sentiment? Song by Monica Sentiments. It was sent to Eurovision.
Ah.
It's a very lovely song.
Okay, it's like a ballad from her.
It's a song, probably.
Okay,
Yeah, it's calm.
very good. But from recent years, within the last 5 years. Very good. Okay. Some events back there. Events, because then we have something to do. Yes.
So we chose one
Speak
event.
up just a little because we're all here.
We
thanks.
chose one event, the Pancakes Day. We are trying to get rid of the winter season and welcoming the spring. At first, it is fun for people to walk in parade where people are dressing up in scary costumes, sharing pancakes, singing and dancing. Then there comes a change where a big doll of wood is burned down as a symbol of scaring winter. And the change is people becoming aggressive and feels the urge to for a seasonal change.
For seasonal.
Yes.
By the way, is the doll that's burnt, is that a witch? Or is it just like an effigy?
No, just a wood doll. Just a symbol.
Just a good old doll.
Yes.
I asked because in living in the Czech Republic, they throw a witch into the river. Not a flesh and blood witch. Not anymore, I guess. But it's the same, it's a similar idea. Okay. Now that is very important that you gave us that change. And how would you describe the change again? The change, people...
People become aggressive and feels the urge for a seasonal change.
Yes. Vitality of spring.
Yes, for a reborn. They prepare for spring, from winter to spring.
Okay, and not just glee, but also a little bit of aggression and energy as well. Yes, very good, yes, as if they had coffee and are ready for spring. Okay, all right, so that is important, that change is important because what this form enables us to do is to synchronize, to put together changes in music with changes in event and picture and action. So if we have that event, and say the name of it just once more. So you said, it sounded like from here, banking day, but...
Pancakes.
Pancake day. Ah, okay, much better than banking. Okay, much more satisfying. Pancake day, okay. Pancake day. What music could change between those two parts of the event? The solemn, sort of the more processional, bringing out, and then when the energy and even aggression picks up. What different pieces of music could you assign from what you chose? There are many different options, so no answer is missing. But give us examples of one song from the first part and one song or sound from the second. I sense some disagreement here, so yes.
Since Pancakes Day at first seems fun because people are sharing food, they are singing, dancing, the music or the sounds can be more welcoming, more warm, fun, happy, and then since Pancakes Day is has a bit of pagan roots, it can become more aggressive. Like maybe we can add some drums, some pagan sounds, like people walking around the fire singing something similar to like something traditional, more traditional. We can add the Glee song. Yeah.
What an interesting and very Lithuanian soundtrack, since you guys are closest to your pagan roots of almost any European country that I understand. So that's very interesting and very distinctive. And if you really wanted to make a point, you could put the drums under the Lithuanian national anthem, something like that. Okay, so that is a provocative idea. And then the same idea, the same sense. Now we have a scene, we have a definite scene where music changes at one point, and we can do something before that or after that. For example, if we took the idea of having the a cappella song with pagan drums and the scene of aggression, where could it go after that? Or how could it have started before that? Either way, just to extend the narrative a little bit before we move on. Maybe Sabonis comes in playing a basketball to the sound of the drums.
From what I imagine, people could be like eating the pancakes before singing the poem.
Ah, okay.
Or like maybe making them together.
Yeah, making them together.
Yeah.
Yes, which establishes a kind of rhythm on its own. The rhythm of sort of communal labor and sharing these things. So what we are doing in this case is we are just developing a narrative through sound, more through our ideas about sound. Here through looks and how people look at things, and here through sound. So that is perfectly logical, and you can really take that good idea and develop it outward, since cooking would be a communal activity, as well as the slapping of pancakes. Okay, so this is from our second era. And from our last era, there is the creation of memorable dialogue. And for that, please give me a memorable line in Lithuanian, a line that people would know. It could be from a film, it could be from a play as well, or it could be a slogan, but a line that, when it is said, you would all recognize it. Something pithy, not too long. Not too long. Uh-oh, she's got an idea again.
I'm just laughing at a joke.
Or it could be a joke. Or it could be a punchline. It could be a punchline. But some memorable line, a memorable line from any of those aspects. I know they exist now, so you're going to have to say it sooner or later. Okay. Music, I think, plays a very big part in my students' emotional lives. You know, they're just listening to music, they love music. I must believe that something similar is the same with yours. And if it does, you should be able to include it in your projects. So that is why we covered it. And I just wanted to give you another example. This is a screenplay called Waves from maybe 6 years ago, 2019, by an American filmmaker. Very interesting. And I don't know if you know, it doesn't matter if you know, but here's a song called Floridada by the Animal Collective. And you can see that the screenwriter, he's so in tune with this song that when he was writing his script, he even talks about what is happening in the pre-chorus and when the chorus happens. So he is writing it in the more traditional format of prose. But if you have a specific idea of an action happening at a specific moment of the song, the column format can help you to arrange that so that it's even more clear. If music is important to you, if you really love a song, if you can see action happening at a certain moment in a song, with this fellow, I just want to show you one other page from this script. Again, it's called Waves. You can find it online. If we go to the next page, he's so specific about a part of the song here. When a sample hits and the bridge to the song comes in, the camera spins around to find two teenagers. And he describes it, the camera spinning around in a way that can barely contain their love. And they start singing the song. So it goes from being something we hear on the soundtrack, diegetic music, to non-diegetic music, something that plays over the film, to something that the characters actually start singing. So if music is important to you, if it plays a part in your emotional life, it should be able to be a part of your projects as well, if it matters to you. It all depends on what matters to you. But now, tell me a line in Lithuanian. Everyone's looking at you.
So we chose
In Lithuanian, it would be nemes kelio dėl takelio. So in English, it would be don't disregard the main road for the smaller path.
Ah.
It's about choices.
Ooh, this is wisdom.
Yes.
This is something you would hear in between the a cappella songs, maybe.
Maybe, yeah.
Okay, can you write it on the board, please? I'm sorry to put you on the spot even more, but just because it has a very nice sound to it.
In English or Lithuanian?
Oh, Lithuanian, of course.
anywhere?
No, between the where. See, there's a place right designed for you. Okay.
Wow.
Ah, I see. Thank you for and is this like the main road?
Yeah.
Okay. So and it's only 4 words.
Yeah.
Okay. The kind of slogan you can really take with you. Okay. Now, very good. So now in a moment we're going to ruin this great Lithuanian saying, but there's a point. There's a point to it. Sometimes in our class, learning from awful films, what we do is we go to the American Film Institute website here, which has a list. Let's see if I can find it. Yes. the American Film Institute's list of great quotes from American films. And these are very Hollywood and mostly recent quotes. But what we do is we go to them and we look at them and then we take them and we ruin them. So, for example, number 8, famous quote from Star Wars. Students ruin it and say good luck. Or hope everything turns out okay.
Or from the Spaceballs.
What?
From the Spaceballs, they wrote it, but it will maybe Schwartz be with you.
The Schwartz, of course. Yes, yes, another way. Giving it a whole other language. And the reason we do this is because it makes us realize what makes the dialogue so memorable. And there's a point to this, before we ruin your wonderful line in Lithuanian. These are some of the things which make dialogue memorable. The grammar and the syntax of things, the order in which words are. Ingrida, remind just once more of the quote from yesterday. For Ben. Did everyone hear that? And what was interesting was that we moved just the word benai, and we moved it to the end of the sentence, and people said it wasn't as meaningful, it wasn't as energizing, it was just the movement of a single word, the order of words, that gave that line its effectiveness. So this is one thing. The accent and dialect. I can imagine in Ukraine there's a huge difference between the West and in accent, between even people in Kyiv and people in Donetsk. You can tell people from Donetsk.
Not really.
Really?
Maybe the Western Ukraine, it's bigger difference, like between Central Ukraine and Western Ukraine.
Ah, Western Ukraine, but less from the East. I see, less from the East. Ah, okay, okay, interesting. And we were asking yesterday if there were any great differences between different parts of Lithuania. There are. Can you give us, like, from Klaipėda and Vilnius? Those are two fairly far apart.
The lowlanders, so towards the sea.
Okay.
Lowlanders, Žemaičiai, they have a very specific accent, which is less normative than, say, in Kaunas, where we find ourselves. So, we speak a more normative Lithuanian in here. And the lowlanders have like slang, thick accent, sometimes to a degree that it's hard to understand whatever they're saying.
So in the new film Southern Chronicles, does everyone speak with that kind of accent in the new Lithuanian comedy?
It's from a different part,
Okay.
from the north. So again, a different accent, but more relatable.
Yeah.
Ah, okay. Even though I think it is called Southern Chronicles, though, isn't it? Okay.
It's the place of the city, the area of the city.
Okay.
The southern part of the city, but the city itself is in the north and left, yes.
Aha. Okay. All right. So the accent and dialect, the vocabulary. For example, this from Star Wars, may the Force be with you. Force acquired a whole new meaning after that film, just putting the definitive article in front of it. All of a sudden, that word became very meaningful for a whole bunch of people. Slang, professional jargon, speaking style, and rhythm. Can you say this? Can anyone say this once more? See, it's just, that is impossible to translate with its full effect into another language, just because the rhythm in Lithuanian is so distinctive and so memorable in that way. So if, just for the moment, if we wanted to ruin this phrase, if we wanted to make it less memorable, less euphonic, what could we do? How could we express the same idea, but in a less pithy and memorable way?
Just, I guess, don't give up.
Is it don't give up, or Or don't, okay, which would be what in Lithuanian? Okay. Yes, that really, flat as a pancake. Okay, so, but there is a point to this. There is a point to this. If we want then to, you make the most use of artificial intelligence for writing, things like that, then we have to bring to artificial intelligence knowledge and give it specific instructions of the craft that we are working in. So we know that AI like ChatGPT can do certain things very well. It can produce many different ideas very quickly, many variations very quickly. It can also do a couple of other things. It can become a certain personality. For example, here I told ChatGPT, let's see. Let me see if I can go up. I told ChatGPT to begin with that it was a dialogue expert. A dialogue expert for thriller films and film noir. And its job was to come up with a line of dialogue that no one has heard before, that is witty and that audiences will remember. But it also had to design it for a woman who was with her gangster boyfriend while she was peeling an orange. Yes, specific instructions, indeed. So again, reminding, this was the personality that I gave it. And so ChatGPT, being friendly ChatGPT, accommodating ChatGPT, decided to come up with these. And I'm curious which one of them strike you, if any. Remembering that film noir people talk tough. Does any one of them strike you, that you might see something in it? Maybe. You look appalled. Oh dear. Well, but remember with ChatGPT, if you don't like the first options, you can always give it a new personality for different options. So I told it, rather than being an expert screenwriter, that it was the worst screenwriter in movie history, and gave it the same assignment. And of course, ChatGPT was as accommodating and came up with really terrible... But now, so ChatGPT is very good at giving you options. Which one? Can you share which one? Okay, all right. But your assignment now, your last assignment for the time being, is to go on to ChatGPT and to give it an assignment to create a line of dialogue. But also, as I will do now, ChatGPT is always better when you can be specific to it. So when you understand what makes good dialogue, the next step that we're going to take is create memorable dialogue. And in fact, let's do it together so you all don't have to do it separately. Let's do it together and choose some of these. How would you like ChatGPT to improve one of these lines in order to make a memorable line? Which of these features do you think would make the most memorable line of dialogue? If we were to encourage ChatGPT to refine its variations. Okay, so we want to make it even slangier. Can we tell it to do like Lithuanian slang? Let's try. Let's see if we can add Lithuanian slang to it. Because ChatGPT, the weirder ChatGPT comes, the more sort of interesting it can get. So let's add a dose of Lithuanian slang to this idea. Okay, anything else besides Lithuanian slang? And should we do anything else to it, for it? This is your chance. Any other suggestions before we let it do its thing? Okay. Ooh. Have you been using ChatGPT?
Yeah.
Ah, what have you asked it?
Oh, well, I asked him to add more slang into basically that sentence, "Nemes karo dėl to karo."
Uh-huh.
But basically, for me, all he added was curse words.
Oh.
So yeah.
So then we would have to be more specific. Okay. Oh dear. You're acting like a real chuvas. Okay. Which one? You have to. You
I
have.
like the 8th one. The 8th one is actually good. Yeah.
Okay. I saw you like number 8. I saw more honesty in a kebabas menu. It's even now that's interesting because kebab is like an international word, but saying it like kebabas makes it even more memorable in Lithuanian. Okay, so two lessons here. As Ethan Mollick argues that because AI is trained on vast swaths of humanity's cultural heritage, it can often best be viewed by people who have a knowledge of that heritage. So that's another reason to know something about film history, or at least parts of film history, like what makes good dialogue, so that you can get AI to generate these really distinctive and weird variants, most of which you will not use. But it does raise the possibility of words like kebabas, which I think is that what is actually said in Lithuanian, kebabas? That's great. That is great. Okay. So, to conclude, everyone, in 90 minutes, we've extended the future of audiovisual storytelling by going back into the past. Because in film history, there are virtues which have been lost just because of industrial trends and the changes in industrial trends. But you can take those past traditions, technologies, techniques, and you can fulfill them in ways that were not available when they were originally practiced through new technologies like our now Lithuanian slang speaking ChatGPT. Okay, so, and I hope these methods will remind you how much film history is there to support you in your projects and how many different methods you have for coming up with for fulfilling your creativity as media and cinema students. Good luck, everyone. Thank you very much. Oh, and any questions, of course, if you have any questions or thoughts about uses of AI. There was a, well, I'll wait for questions, and then I have a comment about something that happened yesterday. But please, any questions?
I have a question. Do you think AI is capable of basically, do you think AI is capable of basically taking and making all the scripts by itself, or do you think people will still need to include their own creations in movie scripts?
The question was if AI is capable, if AI is capable of doing its own movie scripts, or if people will still be needed to give sort of human creativity and touches. I think it's absolutely the question of the moment, because we have two different drives here. And this was represented, you guys may have known that both the Actors Guild and the Writers Guild in the United States went on strike recently because of these very issues that you point out. I think there are two drives. One drive is from sort of the industrial side, and that is to do things more cheaply and to do things in more sort of factory type, just turn things out cheaper, faster, not necessarily looking at the quality of things, right? But to reduce salaries, to cut scripts. And that would like to use AI to generate scripts. Those people who think that way. And that is entirely possible because AI is based on a reservoir of everything that's out there, which means that AI is essentially formulaic. So even before AI, there was a tendency in the industry to do what had been done before. But having AI just accelerates that, especially when we have branded channels which, market themselves on sort of repeating the same formula. So that's one very strong drive. But on the other hand, and equally strong, is this drive to vary the formula that we know. And I think you feel that as audiences as well as creators. You don't just want to go and see something and say, well, that's exactly the same as what I saw a year ago. Right? So that's where the people who want to streamline things run into a little trouble because it's really human ingenuity which can give some interesting variation that would appeal to other human beings. So that's why your generation of creators is so important because it's up to you to discover what are the best uses of AI. What are the ways that we can use AI? I'm sorry. Is it okay? What are the ways to use AI to create something which can still appeal to, audiences, human audiences that don't just want to be treated as sort of receptacles for the same stories, or as to be just limited to our tastes, the taste that we put online. So I think we're now at that point is how do we negotiate these two very strong drives? The one which is based on automation and on repetition and on reducing the human element, and the other one on this, this need for variation, which your creativity is essential to. So get going. Okay. Anyone else? Any other questions? Any other thoughts? I would just add to that, you guys you're already creating things at this school. And I think a key decision, especially as you create more and more, is the protection of that original thoughts and things that you do. because the people who are going to want to automate things are just going to want to take that and not give you credit for it and create things based on what you have done. And I think you will feel that more and more keenly the more things that you create, the more things that you think are original. So just to remember, be very conscious of the things that you contribute, you know, and don't let anyone take that for granted for you, because that's what the strong tendency is. You know, we're just going to take it from everybody and we're going to build it, but they shouldn't be allowed to do that. Demand credit. All right. Well, it was great to have your contributions. I really love this phrase. I will take it with me, and I wish you all really good luck. Okay.
Thank you.